Live from 864 Sound in Greenville, South Carolina, it's the Wash Bros Podcast with your hosts, Matt Jackson and Clay Smith.
What's up, guys? It's Matt Jackson and Clay Smith, and we are the Wash Bros. Thanks for tuning in. We're at episode 10. It's crazy. We've already reached 10 episodes. I think I was reading somewhere where the average podcast only gets to like 7 episodes. So
7, they get tired of it.
They get tired of it. It's like, hey, it's consistently showing up and commitment. So with this one, let's talk about goal setting and thinking bigger. Something we both like to shoot our targets high and overachieve and kind of do the best we can. So you want to kick this thing off?
Sure. Yeah. So the goal setting, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures.
It's just numbers.
It's all just numbers, really. But if you go 7 figures, say that you want to go 7 figures, that's your goal. You're going to be more successful than the 6-figure guy.
Correct. And like thinking targets and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you think bigger, obviously you're gonna go bigger, you're gonna go further, and you're gonna be more successful. But if you think small, you're gonna be small. You're not gonna ever get anywhere.
Exactly. Like, what's worse, setting a goal that's small and hitting it, or setting a huge goal and missing it, but still going way better than that small goal you would set?
Yeah. So with me, I always like to, I wouldn't say set my goals higher than I guess, what am I saying? I wouldn't say like set my goals higher than I think that I can succeed.
Yeah, you don't want an unattainable goal that's going
unattainable goal. I don't want I want a realistic goal, but I want to make myself work harder to try to get there. It's like I don't want to set myself up to run through a never-ending tunnel.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, I'm going to hit $1 million this year, and you've never hit 100,000.
Correct.
Like setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. So my first goal, I think we've talked about this before. When I first started my business, was to make $1,500 a week. And I would do that in a day.
Yeah, that's like a slow day for you today.
Yeah, so it's like, let's make this goal higher and higher and higher. So now I've met that goal. I've went from a week to a day. Now what do I need to do in a week now? And now what do I need to set myself up for a goal to do in a day now? But then as an owner-operator, you're kind of eventually, me and you talk about this a lot, I eventually get stuck at that number, and I have to figure out, okay, when is it time to set myself in place to get to that next level, to get to that bigger number? Or, hey, am I going to stay right here at this owner-operator level, and am I going to, maybe go up on my prices?
Correct, yeah. I mean, it is a numbers game. So you look into things like, at first you want to fill your schedule up, and then once you've obviously saturated your schedule, you look at your closing ratio, and then you're like, oh, how can I raise those average tickets to hit those numbers? But then eventually you run into an area where you're like, I'm too high for the lead volume, and then I need to figure out, maybe if I get another truck, I can still be competitive and get a lot of volume business, and then the total between those 2 trucks are better after paying out my employees and expenses, where I'm making more than I was as an owner-operator.
Yeah, I think more of it's like trying to just get through the growing pains first, because I've watched you do it. It's not easy, obviously, but you're doing very well at it. So, but seeing those bigger numbers, I think that's what drives me to want to grow more than I did before you started growing. Obviously, we were both owner operators. So now seeing you do it and seeing how you have succeeded to do it is kind of made me realize, oh shit, okay, maybe I can do that. Maybe in the future I can do that. And then watching you do it, I obviously know the thing. Me and you talk daily, so I know the things that you've struggled with, the things that you have gotten through, and the things that you're going to continue to do to make everything better and run a smooth operation, which it's pretty much already smooth, but try to get it on a cruise control, autopilot. Hey, sit back, watch these guys, and just let it go.
Yeah. And I was doing it for a couple of years as an owner operator, and you run into a ceiling of numbers that you have a limited amount of days you're working, and then you're like, I'm not going to trade weekends and 7 days a week to make these huge numbers. So I decided to scale, and I said, okay, owner operator, $1,500 a day is a pretty respectable number. That's like a pretty good solid number to hit. And so I just want to double it. So I want to do $3,000 a day with 3 trucks. But I'm learning like, wow, the funnel required to do that is a lot. I mean,
and the amount of overhead goes up, and then you have to reevaluate your numbers.
Absolutely. And two, it's like, hey, okay, I can make good money here, but I'm anticipating. So if I'm doing $1,500 a week as an owner operator, I'm trying to do math, was like $7,500. You're going from $7,500, which in my mind is like attainable, to like having a potential to hit $15,000 in a week. Like that's a huge jump. And it's
just off adding one truck, right?
Yeah. So it's like, man, I have to find that funnel of my incoming quote requests and my customer base to be able to facilitate that. It's like I'm going from shooting like $35,000 a month to doing like shooting for like $60,000, $70,000 a month.
Which you literally turn in from a pressure washer to like an analyst.
Yeah, all day long you're just trying to fit pieces together in a puzzle. And then you're like, all right, well, I got one guy here, he's slow today. The other guy over here is quick today. How can I like move stuff on the fly and do that? So like the energy required to do this, like you have to think a lot bigger. And like we're talking about, you're setting a goal. You want to be realistic. So for me, I'm like, okay, $3,000 a day between two trucks. That's a good number. But realistically speaking, I'm probably hitting $2,500, $2,200. But I'm able to spread that out between two trucks, so it's not me killing myself. So I'm not hitting that goal that I've initially set for myself. On some days I will, but more days than not, I'm probably $2,500. But if I'm not thinking bigger and setting a higher goal, I would still be hitting like $1,500, $1,700, as opposed to saying, oh man, I'm failing trying to hit my $3,000 a day. I'm hitting $2,500 a day and I'm paying out my expenses on my employees, maybe like $400. And I'm still netting better than where I was on my like really good day as an owner operator. But it just takes a huge like sales funnel to fill up the schedule.
Right. It takes a lot more work that you probably don't think about when you finally decide, hey, I'm going to start adding this stuff and I'm not going to do any more work, but you're still doing more work.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's a different kind of work, but it's still more work.
I'm mentally doing a lot more work and I'm never able to turn off. It's not like, oh, I did a really good job today and then I'm going home. It's like, oh man, I got to make sure the trucks are full because I don't have gas cards in my trucks. And I'm like, you almost have to babysit and you throw that on top of working all the time and then trying to fill out a schedule. It's like, oh man, the last 2 months of like a growth journey, I'm like, I've done really well numbers wise, but it's like, man, it feels like I've aged 10 years in 2 months.
Yeah, I always check to see if I have any gray hairs, especially by myself. I don't have anybody to pat me on the ass and tell me I did a good job or anything.
No. Yeah, I think we both are the opposite with ourselves. And you're like, oh, today's a failure. And then you're like, oh, did all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like our goals we shoot for ourselves are like, if we're not hitting this, we're failing. But they're usually so far past where most people shoot for that it's still like, oh man, you guys are killing it.
Yeah, obviously my goals are a little different than yours and vice versa. So, but that doesn't make us any better than the other either.
No, yeah. It's like we're in a healthy, competitive environment that we can show each other where the opportunity is and like what opportunity is. It's like you put up some stupid huge numbers in December and January and February, and I'm like, oh, that stinks for me. But you motivated me to put a lot more money into marketing and say, hey, I'm going to go after this competitively, as opposed to like kind of coast.
Yeah, and the cool thing about us is we openly throw our business plans for the most part out there at each other.
Yeah, we put our guts out there.
Yeah, me and you pretty much share everything with each other, and we basically know everything about each other's business. And that shows a lot of confidence. We still compete like we've talked about. Business is business. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like, hey, if we go out and play a game of basketball, I'm going to put my game face on, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the same. But at the end of the day, we're not afraid to learn off of each other, and we throw our egos aside and say, okay, hey, how can we both be better here? How can we be the guy for pressure washing, right?
Yeah. Or how can we work together and collaborate on projects and not both try to compete and kill ourselves and be like, hey, we can all win here.
Right. And you guys will see coming up, we're about to knock one out together. So
yeah,
stay tuned for that one.
I know, right?
But anyway, yeah. So like collaborate. I mean, working together. It's helped. The last year, I think it's been over a year now that we've kind of joined each other and kind of helped each other. We gauge each other. push each other for the most part, check each other up when we need to. I mean, it's a blunt relationship. So
yeah, it's just business. And it's important to have accountability partners and accountability with oneself and then somebody else, just to be like, hey, look, you being on my ass is causing me to drive a little harder. It's like in racing, you see somebody, it's called like red mist. I don't know, like in the road racing scene, it's like somebody's on your ass, you're gonna start looking in your mirror, and then you're gonna start driving more defensively as opposed to driving your line.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna take you over, or you're gonna get pissed off. And it's like, hey, how do you take heat and pressure from all sides and use that to mold you and to be a better version of yourself than be a crybaby little bitch like some people are and can't handle that pressure.
Yeah, a lot of people are just soft, man. They just can't handle the truth. They can't handle the blunt of business. They can't handle the truths of business, and they just get in their feelings. They take it personal. Like I said, business is business, and friends is friends.
Yep.
Personal opinions is personal opinions, and if you can't throw all that aside, throw your ego aside, and say, okay, hey, let's work together. Let's figure this out. Let's, hey, I need help. I want to know your opinion, not necessarily you need help. Hey, what do you think about this? I have this idea. How can you help me here? Or what do you think about doing this? And you never know. You may have a great idea, and you two may be able to work together and say, okay, well, I don't really necessarily agree here, but I agree there, and we can throw it all together and let's try this out. You may be able to mix up the perfect recipe for something that nobody's ever done, and it's going to make both of you stick out. And I think that's what kind of me and Matt have done. Me and you have done. We've kind of thrown our ideas and jumbled our ideas together, like some of the stuff with the videos that we talked about for the leads. Kind of threw that together, and I think we've just been busy not to figure that out, but I think we're going to try that out, and it's going to be, it's going to be a great thing. And nobody else out there is doing that we know of.
Yeah, everybody's so worried about staying in their own lanes and, I'm not going to offend somebody or worry about what they're doing over here, as opposed to saying, why don't you try to collaborate and help out other people grow? It's like we talk about on our previous episodes, entrepreneurship's a solo sport for the most part. So by able to like kind of bridge that gap and collaborate with other people and almost like partner with people, we're still our own individual companies, but we're able to share like our day-to-day stuff.
Information to make your job easier, to make your job easier for yourself, to make your job easier for your family, to make your job easier for spending time with your family. And we've talked about that. It's trying to get the business stuff and the family stuff separated, to be able to spend your time, because I think we're both guilty of this. We're on our phones all the time. We get so carried away in business, and we get so far behind, we never think we're going to get ahead. But sometimes there comes a point that we just need to sit that stuff down and separate yourself. So
100%.
Yeah, so I think we're going on cruise. We're both going on a vacation back to back weeks.
He inspired me to go on a cruise.
I inspired Matt to go on a cruise. The other thing, you just kind of gauge each other. Say, hey, it's time for a vacation, but it's busy season. Screw busy season.
There's more important things mentally, like family and your mental health. There's plenty of money to be made.
And if you're confident in yourself, set your goals correctly, you're gonna set them. And
your customers will be there when you come back.
Yes, if you've provided enough value in your company, it doesn't matter when your customers call, they will wait on you.
Correct. Otherwise, it's not somebody who's coming after you because they want to. They're coming after you probably because of price or availability.
And obviously, there's different customers out there. You got your price shoppers. You got your people, what I call Kens and Karens, that want to ask a million questions, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. And then
just send them all his way.
And then you got your bigger companies that need like commercial jobs. You have different type of customers. I mean, everybody that's in business knows that. So, but at the end of the day, the ones that you've shown value to, the customers that you've shown value to and not sold your company, but I don't want to say it that way. That the customers that you've shown value to will always wait on you no matter what the circumstance is.
Yeah. And like you said, with pressure washing, it's a tool where we're able to clean anything from like a restaurant to like you do your moving company trucks, to do residential houses, to do commercial houses. You can pick whatever segment you want and go after that. And then that's the cool thing about what we do. We don't have to do exactly as one person or one customer says. So like goal setting, you just have to have a clear idea of what you want and align it with what you enjoy and what's good for you and your lifestyle. Like if you're a family guy, you probably shouldn't be doing commercial work that's late at night. So don't have goals that I'm going to do all these commercial jobs that are going to be done at like 2 a.m. Be like, no, I'm going to focus on residential. I'm going to focus on like more corporate commercial stuff and have high level relationships with people. And I think you've done a great job at like kind of finding a niche in all that stuff.
Yeah. I think when I first started my business, I was just all wanting to just grab everything I could get. But now, as I'm growing as a business owner, not as a business, but as a business owner, trying to figure it all out
like
for
a
myself.
person. You're growing
as a person. It feels good to know that I don't have to grab everything that comes after me. That I know when I can walk away and the ones that I need to go after. If you're having to sell yourself too much, then it's probably not the customer for you. Like I told you earlier, we had a dean come through the other day. Well, actually, not the other day, it was earlier. And a customer said, well, can you match this quote? And I'm just like, no. What was the company? They told me the company. Never heard of the company in my life. Never knew. It's probably some mom and pop. And it was $50 cheaper than my quote. And I stuck to my guns, So I can't say that a year ago I would have stuck to my guns and said, no, let me match that quote. And if that's going to get me the job. But that customer, I stuck to my guns and said, nope, that's my price. It just goes to show that I built enough value in my company that the customers were going to go with me regardless.
Yeah, that's true. And you're again like providing value in your company to them and not just bending over. Because then they're like, well, if you're willing to take $50 off, I should have asked you for $100. Mm-hmm. And then you don't necessarily have like trust in their eyes.
And it shows that you're weak. And then when you get to the job, they're probably going to run over you, pick over you. Yeah. And, they're going to tell you to do a million things and think that
they got you by the balls.
Yeah. Like, hey, you need to do this, or you missed a small little spot.
You started the relationship showing less value than if you stood to yourself.
Correct. And I think that's something that a lot of guys, they get caught up in trying to. There comes a point where you try to please the customer, and when you like try to wipe their feet, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's like having insecurity in your job and you haven't set the bar for what your expectations are.
Not being confident in your work.
I think a lot of where we live is the red clay thing. Setting the expectations before you begin the job, I think is the
100%
is the best.
Yeah.
And the wheat poles and the oxidation and
hey, Mr. Customer, I looked at your property. This is not going to clean up. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. That way we don't waste each other's time.
Yeah, because, hey, if you were expecting this white, cloudy stuff to come off your house, then there's probably no reason I should even be here.
Exactly.
Unless we do an oxidation removal, which is a restoration service, which we,
some businesses it works, others it doesn't. You just have to say, what's your time worth? Right. And how we structure our stuff, I don't get into it because it's not.
We have a lot of work.
We got a lot of volume.
Places to be, yeah.
We're not trying to sniper specific jobs.
Yeah, when you're doing 3 to 4 jobs a day, you don't have time for restoration.
No. And again, that's B-backs are required. So again, all the stuff you have to figure out, what type of business are you trying to do?
Yeah.
So, like people always chase, oh, there's money in this, I'm going to go over here, or there's money in that, I'm going over here. I was like, what is something that you're good at doing that you can replicate and you enjoy doing? You don't want to do something that's like, oh, this is miserable, but I'm going to make $800 and I'm going to hate it. Well, you're going to get a lot of jobs and you're going to burn out because it's not what you want to do.
Right. Yeah.
And you're probably not good at it either.
Yeah, like the post-construction, new construction cleanup. Yeah, I that is not something I enjoy doing. If they told me that's all the work that was left in the world, I'd be going and opening another business doing something else.
Yeah, and there's guys that love doing that. And I'm like, hey, look, it's nothing personal here. It's just not what I do.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example. But yeah, when you're starting if you're new, if you're fresh, if you're new in this business, maybe a year, even 2 years, you haven't really had anybody guide you, and you're listening to our podcast, and you're trying to figure out, hey, where do I need to do? What do I need to do? How do I need to set down and make our goals? The first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what type of work you want to go after. Mm-hmm. What, as far as money, where do you need to be compared to your overhead? Like there's minimums that need to be set in place. You're not going to go out and obviously wash a sidewalk for $50.
Correct.
So like with my company, we have a $300 minimum. If you need your sidewalk washed, it's going to be $300. So let's find something else that we need to wash around your house.
Absolutely.
And then number 3, like, hey, what is your end goal? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to pass this along to a family member? Like, are you trying to grow this company to be like a big corporation? Are you trying to franchise it? Are you trying to grow 3 or 4 trucks, small family business? Mm-hmm. There's so many things like, hey, I want to be a millionaire in the pressure washing industry. Okay, how can I get there? Write it down on a piece of paper. Try to figure it out.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just numbers. And then it doesn't matter what type of jobs you focus on. We see this all the time. People get so fixated and, oh, you just have to do commercial because it's like, that's where all the money is. I was like, okay, well, they're going to pay you in 30 days if you're lucky.
Yeah. Do you have the capital built up? Do you have the loan? Do you have the money built up somewhere in account to make sure that you're taking care of all the bills?
Yeah. Like I'm paying my employees. I got to live off of stuff, and I probably have like $7,000 or $8,000 just kind of sitting, waiting to come back to me. And in the meantime, I paid for my chemicals. I paid for my living expenses. I paid for my truck insurances. I paid for my employees who did the job. It's like you got to have enough work coming in to offset the big swings.
And I know that in our industry, in our market where we are in Greenville, South Carolina, it's a very saturated industry. So you're not going to always get all of the jobs, obviously, because you have a lot of guys that are undercutting. So
that's true.
A lot of guys are willing to work cheaper than.
Absolutely. And again, we've focused so much on building our brands and building our reputations that we're kind of cherry picking more. But we've been able to fill that funnel up with our reputation and our Google ads and our Google reviews where, hey, like we are in the top 5%. If you Google Greenville, we're going to be in the top 5% on Google.
Yeah.
So like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll probably see one of us.
Correct.
Depending on your search.
Yeah. Depending on how you search. Yeah. What triggers it. But yeah. So the goal setting, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about where you want to be, your personal preference, and, who's driving you. Obviously, my goal is going to be a little different than yours, and vice versa. And whoever's sitting, Mr. Imaginary Guy right here, he may just say, hey, all I want to do is pressure wash out of the back of my truck, do it, part-time, and maybe wheel and deal my equipment here and there and still work my regular job. Yep. Maybe that's his goal. Hey, I want a little extra spending money to take my wife on vacation every now and then.
And there's nothing wrong with whatever route you choose. I guess the biggest thing is be authentic.
Yeah,
be yourself. Don't be like trying to say you're somebody you're not.
Yeah, be yourself. And if that means you have a big ego, big head, you're cocky, okay, so be it. I mean, I don't. It is what it is.
Like you can be cocky, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick.
It's like just don't be a dickhead. It's like if you're cocky, it means hey, you're probably doing something.
Right. But at least if you're gonna be cocky, be able to back it up with something.
Yeah.
If you're cocky and you don't have anything to back it up, then
that's when you're a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but I think that's a great ending there. So, make sure you set your goals. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Subscribe, download, like our page. If you have something that you want to talk about, that you want us to talk about, any questions you have, anything you want us to answer for you, we'd be happy to do that. So shoot us a message, comment on our YouTube, comment on our Wash Bros Facebook page. We have on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on about every platform out there. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Check us out. That wraps up episode 10.
Yeah, sounds good.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.